Welcome, I'm Paul, this is Dave. Today I have 16 Glitch in the Matrix and supernatural stories for you. It doesn't have to be Chucky. Case file number 2588, written by Tacklebox. Not today, Barbie. Not today. When I was about 7 or 8, I had this Barbie head thing that was meant to do its hair or something. It sat on one of my dressers near my closet, and I had it facing away from me, and I low-key was creeped out by it. One night I hear heavy footsteps. I assume it's my mom checking on me being asleep. I then start to hear heavy breathing, definitely not my mom. I open my eyes. The fucking doll was in my face. Doll eyes just staring at me. I close them, then turn away pretending to be asleep. I heard heavy footsteps shortly later. I was scared crapless. I finally fell asleep, and when I woke, the Barbie head was facing towards me. The next day, I put it in the garage cause nope. And a couple weeks later, it ended up back on the same location it was before. I asked my parents if they put it back in my room, and they said no, and had no idea it was in the garage. I then locked it in an old dog cage, and it stayed there till we moved out, and I threw it away. You may be thinking you were little, you could have been dreaming. No way. I'm a light sleeper. I wake up at the slightest noise or light, all of it. I was definitely awake, and I cannot tell you how or why that happened. Yeah, when you go down this route, Chucky always terrified me as a kid, so nope indeed. Case file number 2589, written by Noble Sir, Trapped Between Ticks. When I was in middle school, cell phones weren't widespread yet, and I also didn't carry a watch, so I would often do things without knowing the time. I used to walk a mile or so to a bus stop, and I was usually the only kid that rode the bus at this time. Our school started at staggered times, and I was the only middle schooler who rode this bus at this particular time. I would leave my house at 6:50 and get to the bus stop by 7:20ish. I had gone with a watch before, so I knew the timing. And the bus would always arrive by 7:35, so I always had a bit of extra time. On this particular day, it was the dead of winter, and it was overcast out, so it was quite dark. I left the house at the same time I always did. My family was doing the same things at the same time they always were, and there were no indications of anything being weird. I swear, I got to the bus stop and time froze for a long time. Everything about my walk was normal, but while waiting on the usual busy street for my bus, no cars drove by, no pedestrians walked by, and my bus didn't come for what felt like hours. The sky did get a little brighter as the day went on, but something felt really weird. I swear I stood there for hours, before suddenly, things returned to normal, and there were cars driving by, and a few people walked by. My bus pulled up, and I walked on feeling very strange. I looked at the time. It said 7:33 a.m. Case file number 2590, written by Voicing Spy. Ctrl+Alt+Delete. A few years ago, one of my online friends got a new PC. I know this happened, not just because I remember her posting excitedly about it on Facebook, but because I literally connected to it remotely to help her set things up. I saw her specs, helped her configure some stuff, and even remember thinking how nice of an upgrade it was compared to the old laptop she used to complain about. We don't really talk consistently anymore, but we still message each other occasionally to catch up. About 6 months ago was the last time we spoke, until just the other day, when I reached out and asked if she wanted to play some Minecraft with me. She joined me, and we played for a bit like we used to together. Nowadays, I'm really into VR chat, so I asked if she wanted to try it out with me and some of my other friends sometime. She said she couldn't. Her laptop is 10 years old and can't run it. I was confused, so I said, "Wait, didn't you get a new PC a while back?" And she just said, "No, I never did." I thought she was messing with me at first, but no, she genuinely acted like it never happened. I even went back to try to find the Facebook post she made about it, and it's gone. No pictures, no comments, no sign it was ever there. The only thing I could find is a post about her new desk, which she got at the same time as her new PC. But I remember her set it up. I remember what the post said. I remember checking her specs myself, and now nothing. I'm honestly extremely confused regarding the whole situation. So too would I be. You are probably in a different universe. Enjoy it. Case file number 2591, written by Bab Mr. Bab. 3 orange lights, 1 terrified porch dweller. I was out living with a friend in Battleground for a few months. One night I was home alone, standing on the back porch, when all of a sudden a triangle formation of 3 orange lights appears in the sky. I'm just sitting there looking at it like, what the hell is that? I go inside and grab a pair of binoculars, no telescope, and look at it. Still can't make out anything but orange balls. Then all of a sudden some of the balls split up, and now there's 6. At this point I'm kinda freaking out, still watching though. 3 of them reform back into the triangle. The other 3 lower themselves and form a line under the triangle. One starts slowly falling towards the ground, all the way behind the tree line. One starts moving right and falls, and the other moves left and falls. After that, the triangle stays together but starts rising and rising. They get really high in the sky super fast, then just go away in order. The top point of the triangle disappeared, then the bottom left, then the bottom right. I think I have videos somewhere on my phone, but I couldn't find them. I went on some website that shows UFO sightings, and sure enough, there were 11 in that exact area I was in. Still don't know what it was. Was it aliens? No one knows what it is, or maybe some say it's some kind of military exercise or flares. I don't think so. I don't either. Case file number 2592, written by Infinite Grant. The Nightie of Stairs. One night, I'd gone to the toilet in the dark, with the only light being the dim light from my laptop being on in the bedroom across the hall. As I'm looking back, what looks like my daughter comes from the direction of her room in a light-colored nightie. Head down, so her dark hair covered her face. Just stood at the top of my stairs and stopped moving. Just stood there a while. She's sleepwalking, I thought, which my son has also done. I called her name to try and get her to go back to her room. Totally non-responsive, much like my son would be. And I thought the whole thing was kinda cute. To help me guide her back to bed better, I turned the light on. And with that, she wasn't there at all. There was nothing. I was very freaked out and told my wife, and put it down to my mind playing tricks on me. A few weeks later, my wife and I went out and the kids were babysat by friends. When we saw them the following morning, we asked our kids if they slept okay. My son then said, well, it was quite scary, as it was a woman who looked like our sister, and she was in a white nightie, and she just was standing there at the top of the stairs, and never moved or said anything. Very similar physical description, and it or she did the same thing as what I thought I saw. In the exact same part of the house. And as he's only 7, we hadn't told him anything about the sighting, so he didn't even know I had seen something very much like that. Case file number 2593, written by Click Click Bam. The night I became her husband. I was at a dueling piano bar with my girl for a night of laughing. This girl my age, and who I figured was her mom, kept looking at me. The night went on and they eventually came up to me, and apologized for the staring and had decided to explain to me why. The old lady told me her daughter had taken her out to this piano bar tonight to celebrate her now deceased husband's birthday. That I was a perfect match and looked exactly like her husband and was the same age for when they met decades ago. They asked me my name and age, and when I told them, they both started crying, as I had the same name as the husband and was the same age as when they met. They kept saying they wished they had a picture with them to show me the resemblance. The old lady and the daughter asked me to please take a picture with them so they could document this and to have a pic to show the rest of the family, as nobody would believe this happened. They were pretty emotional about this happening, and the old lady almost pulled some tears out of me when she asked me to hug her, because it was like she was going back in time and was given the chance to hug her husband once again. The daughter, to her, was like seeing her father in his prime, and they were both blown away. I couldn't say no to the pic and hug, etc. The whole thing was very strange and really got me thinking about life. I'm a tad emotional right now, thinking about this. Hey, I don't blame you at all. That is beautiful. You know, you have glitches where time can reverse, or you're caught in a time vortex or portal, all kinds of weird things. But sometimes, it's really the human impact that matters. Maybe not sometimes, all the time. That's what really matters. The universe itself can glitch out, but if no one's there to appreciate it, or be terrified by it sometimes, then it doesn't matter. We are what matters. Case file number 2594, written by Anonymous. The wrong way at the right time. I live in a house that has a driveway that is actually a sort of alley that goes from one major street to another, with another alley and driveway crossing it, perpendicularly. Imagine a board with 4 quadrants, like a 4-square playing surface. If I'm driving, leaving my house going north, towards a perpendicular alley, I can't see anything coming from the right on the perp alley because of a giant barn thing. Anyway, my house is on the south road. I always get in my car, drive north, cross the perpendicular alley without slowing. This is because no one ever drives on it, and then go out on the north major road. I never slow down, and I've never seen another car use it besides mine or my housemates. It just so happens that the one time I'm in my car and about to cross the perpendicular alley, a car pulls in from the north road and is heading towards me, going the wrong way, mind you. I've never seen this before. Naturally, I slow down because I'm like, hey, I'll just turn left on the perpendicular alley and go out onto the west street instead of going straight, like I usually do at full speed. Suddenly, once I slow down, a car comes flying from the right on the perpendicular road, at the exact same time I would have been crossing it had I not slowed down for the first time ever. I would have been T-boned. To this day, I still cannot believe the luck that a car just so happened to turn in the wrong way, which caused me to slow down, at the same time a car just so happened to be coming down the perpendicular alley where I couldn't see it at all. Every single day now, I slow down and slowly creep through the intersection with the perpendicular alley, just in case. Well, this was a classic guardian angel glitch, but it's just funny how many times I had to say perpendicular. It's a fun word though. Case file number 2595, written by Lebowski Achiever 12. The left turn denied by the universe. I was about 17 and learning to drive. Mom and I had just been to the grocery store and running a few errands. It was almost dark out and we were heading home. Was first in line at a left stoplight at a large intersection. The turn arrow light turned green, and I just sat there. It was a very odd sensation. I knew the light was green and needed to pull through, but couldn't. It's like all motivation to move was gone, almost like when you're staring off into space, but I was fully conscious that the light had changed, and turning was what I was supposed to be doing. Mom didn't say a word either, just stared at the light. About 5 seconds later, a full-size Suburban came barreling through. The speed limit on the road was 45, but he had been going 65, 75. The car shook hard when he passed us. After he ran the light, I turned like normal, and Mom and I both kind of woke up. Afterward, we both described the same feeling coming over us at the light. If we hadn't been both tranced out or whatever have you, the Suburban would have struck us broadside. A Suburban versus a Saturn at 60 or 70 miles per hour wouldn't have been pretty. Mom would have been probably ended on impact, and I highly doubt I would have survived as well. We still talk about it every now and then, just a weird experience, and about subconsciously seeing and hearing the truck. Yes, that is possible. However, the way the intersection was laid out meant I didn't see that vehicle. The lanes facing me were downhill slightly, but I wasn't stopped far enough forward to see over the small incline. I didn't see the truck until it crested the hill, and that speed, it was almost like in the middle of the intersection before it really registered that it was there. Another car-based guardian angel, but this time inducing by a trance to save you. Can our guardian angels do that? Interface with our minds directly, without our permission, obviously for, positive benefit. It's not out of malice, but still. Kinda creepy that they could do that. Or was it indeed your subconscious picking up on it and trancing you out? With your mom too. Case file number 2596, written by Middle Earth. The sock gremlins are evolving. Okay, so this year, 2 weird things have happened. A duplicate of a t-shirt turned up in the laundry. My son was helping with the laundry when he began freaking out over a t-shirt. I was asking him what was wrong when I realized that the t-shirt I was currently folding was identical to the one that he was wearing. We have only ever seen this t-shirt once on sale, which was when we first purchased it. Where did the second one come from? On to today, and I'm putting away the dishes up away in the kitchen cupboards. I come across one distinctive mug, then the second one of the pair, and then a third one. A third mug that matches the first one. I remember buying these mugs many years ago, and I bought one of each type, the colored one and the blue one. These were the only 2 options available, as it celebrated an event many years ago. They haven't been made nor on sale since. There's not enough space in the cupboard to fit all the mugs, as now I have too many mugs. Where did the third mug come from? It's like your place, your apartment, your house is a hotspot for DOP activity, but you're on the receiving end. I like to equate it to a black hole versus white hole. Some places, some people perhaps, are bound as a black hole where things are sucked in and vanish forever. Other people are white holes where things are evacuated into their presence or their place. I don't know if it's bound to people or areas, but yeah. One way or another, there's a combination of these usually. But some people are just one or the other. For me, I'm just black hole, things vanish and never come back. I'd rather be a white hole, but you can't decide. Case file number 2597, written by Crafty Orca 135. The Lavatory Lurker. I'm in my room with the door shut, and I hear the toilet light go on, and the door shut. I figure out that my aunt is in there. The toilet flushes and I hear my auntie goes downstairs, then comes back up again and goes to the toilet. The light goes on and the door shuts. At this point I'm thinking she must have the weakest bladder in existence. Then 10 minutes pass. I go out to see if she's still in there and the door is still shut. She's still in there and I'm thinking it's a long job, so I sit and wait for her to leave. Then 15 minutes pass and she's still in there. I'm thinking she's obviously got a bad stomach or something and just wait. Then she comes into my room and I'm like, "Are you okay? You've been in the toilet for the last 20 minutes. She says she's been downstairs for the last 20 minutes and that she never went to the toilet the second time. The door is still shut and I didn't hear anyone come out. I heard someone come up the stairs and go back into the toilet, and yet no one ever went the second time." Case file number 2598, written by Yippee Yeti. My smartphone outsmarted fate. I'm convinced that my phone disappeared to save my life or something. I was with a friend of mine and we were both in my car, about to drive off to our destination. I put my phone into my phone holder, the kind that's on the dash for GPS, and was chit-chatting as I got ready to roll out. Removed my e-brake and went to look for my phone, which was not in its holder anymore. My friend and I started looking for it between the seats and everything. Couldn't find it. I was about to go inside and look for it there, thinking that I was just tired or something. But I checked the holder again, and my phone was suddenly there, except it was upside down. I know my friend wasn't pulling a joke on me, because for one, he's a horrible liar, and for two, he was actively looking for it with me. On our way to our destination, we were very nearly in a nasty T-bone collision. If we were just a little bit earlier, we would have been hit. It felt like divine intervention. Of a sort. Case file number 2599, written by Mercury Waxing. The Man at Every Mile Marker. My dad is driving back from visiting his father in North Carolina. We live about 12 hours away, and he plans on driving straight through. When he pulls over at the first rest stop, a guy walks up and asks for a ride. Dad turns him down. 2 hours later, he sees the same guy hitchhiking on the side of the road. He drives past. Dad stops at a rest stop for coffee. The man is there and asks for a ride as far as you're going, but Dad still says no. Sees the man hitchhiking again on the road. Dad's car starts to have trouble and he pulls off the highway. And at the end of the ramp, yup, That guy again. He offers to help with the car and together they get it running again. Dad offers him a ride and this time, the man doesn't talk and they drive for a few hours. Next thing, Dad wakes up in the hospital. The doctor says he passed out at the wheel, and witnesses saw his passenger take over the wheel, pull the car over. When they stopped to help though, the passenger wasn't there. Honestly, the most amazing thing about the story is that your dad didn't seem to react much to seeing this guy again and again and again. I mean, even if he had a ride of his own, how was he always ahead of him? You know, you can always say portals and stuff, but this feels more like a guardian experience. A lot of those today. Case file number 2600, written by Gekins. Smoke without fire, dreams without sleep. I had some weird dream after my father died. He was crazy about fire safety. No blocking of doors and windows, no locking doors at night. Always checking fire alarms before leaving the home alone for a weekend or longer. My mother and sisters had left for summer vacation, and I was home alone for a few weeks. One night, I had this crazy dream about a huge ship rolling down my neighborhood, filling everything with smoke. I could hear my father's voice in a megaphone going, "You are not prepared," repeatedly. I fought my way through the smoke in the house and managed to get out. Then I woke up. It was like 8 a.m. and I remember just laying in my bed for a while, all confused before getting up. It was a beautiful day outside. I walked over to my computer and started browsing. After like 20 minutes, all the fire alarms in my house went off, and it went on for what felt like at least 10 minutes, because I managed to check every room in our house, and find the keys to permanently lock doors and check them before it stopped. No fires, no smoke. And these were not carbon dioxide alarms. They have definitively not malfunctioned like this before or after. I did, however, realize that that time I had no clue where all the fire extinguishers in my house were, and also realized that one that used to be on the wall outside my bedroom was missing. I also checked the dates on all of them. If it was a message of some sort, I've got you covered, Pops. It probably was. Your dad is always looking out. Case file number 2601, written by Acceptable Win 7474. Daniel, my brother. I'm an electrician, and I worked with my brother and the new guy who we can call Daniel. Daniel was downstairs cleaning, and this was at the end of the day. We wanted to get the heck out of the job site. I was in bedroom 1, and my brother was in master bedroom. Then I heard footsteps going down. I assumed my brother was done on what he was doing. I was working on putting a light fixture up, till I heard my brother calling for me, master bedroom. I found it weird, because I just heard footsteps going down. And yes, it was just me, Daniel, and my brother on the job site. Then I went to master bedroom and saw my brother. Was my mind playing tricks on me? I heard footsteps going downstairs, and I know it couldn't have been Daniel's because he was downstairs. And even if it was him going upstairs, he would have said something. And plus, he told me he didn't go upstairs after we had lunch, and he promised and seemed serious. Also, you can tell the difference between footsteps coming up and going down. It 100% sounded like it was downstairs. But when I walked into the room, my brother was there, and he told me to look on how he was installing an outlet. Something I've been known how to do, so I found it weird. Then he just stopped, froze in time. I thought he was waiting for me to give him something, and I said, plate, right? And still didn't say anything. I thought he was messing around, but he stood there. It felt like a minute, no face expression, nothing. But whatever. So I assumed he needed a plate for the outlet, the one he was installing. And then I went downstairs. Daniel told me, "Are you done up there?" And I said, "Just one more light fixture." And he, my brother, is doing one last outlet. Then he said, "Riddy, I thought he was done 10 minutes ago." And assuming this guy was new, he didn't know, so I said, not yet, almost, he's just doing an outlet. Then he gave me a look. "What do you mean? He's outside, putting stuff in his van." Then I went outside to surely see my brother there. How was that possible? He was just upstairs. And then I asked him, "Did you already do that outlet?" He said, "What outlet?" I said, "The one upstairs you had me look at you do." He said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And after that, I didn't want to look like a fool, so I just started to clean up. Kinda was creeped out though. had Daniel come upstairs with me to clean up, but just wanted someone there with me. Then when I was done doing the light fixture, I wanted to see if the outlet was done, and to my surprise, nothing was touched. And I could have swore he already stripped the wire, and had the wire already hooked up to the outlet. And when I left, he was screwing in the outlet till he completely stopped. Then I cleaned up and had to ask him again, "Did you not want to do that outlet in the master bedroom, by the window?" And he told me, "I didn't even get to the outlets today." And I asked, "Well, the one you were going to install, did you just take that outlet off?" He once again said, "I didn't, nor have I even did any type of outlets today," which was true. I then told him what I experienced, and he laughed and just said, "You need more sleep." My brother isn't the type of person to mess around with me, especially how confused and how I was making me go crazy. I can't explain what happened, even though there should be many things to explain what happened. Am I the only one who's going crazy? I'm extremely paranoid right now, and I can't sleep. I've been looking around my room in bed, waiting for something or someone to pop up. One suggestion was a mimic, which is scary. But last night, when I made this post, I experienced something. I slept on the floor on the air mattress, and my body was in the position facing the door. And there's a crack under the door. This is to go outside in the hallway. I live in an apartment complex. While I was scrolling through my phone, I saw footsteps, but it didn't seem normal. They were quiet and moving way too fast. And outside my door, there is a wall to the right, so it's hard to keep going back and forth that quickly without having to stop due to the wall being there. And I didn't hear any type of footsteps. My fan was on, so I decided to turn it off, and it was completely silent. The footsteps stopped, but after a couple minutes, they returned. Keep in mind, I saw the shadows of the footsteps. There was someone there. Now, after a couple minutes, they returned, but it was more normal this time. Every time my neighbor comes up the stairs or near my door, I can always hear their footsteps. This time I didn't. It was completely quiet. I decided to ignore it and just face the other side and fall asleep. Now today, I decided to go to work. The whole day, nothing happened, and I read some post about how there might have been a gas leak. I decided to bring that up to the plumber on site. He checked everywhere and nothing seemed odd, but I got some information I wanted to say. The contractor told me this project or property had been on the market for a while. It was a 2-floor old house. The previous homeowner had a hard time selling the house. I found it off because it was in a good part of New York, but the houses in the area are old, but very expensive and big. But this house was only $400K, which in New York is nothing, comparing them to houses that were easily $1 million or more. Starting to really think this house has something sinister. Yeah, a mimic would be terrifying. The shadows under the door, that's creepy too, but to directly interact with something that isn't supposed to be there, now, maybe it could have been some time-related glitch, that's possible too. This is one of those stories which could be a glitch or supernatural, I'm not certain either way. A kind of time loop or echo or something like that. Or if it was a mimic or doppelganger, whew, that is definitely more terrifying. Because you're directly interacting, and your brother, by how you reacted and everything, seemed to be relatively normal, so if it was an imposter, anything that can be an imposter, but then make you believe they're really your brother or your friend or whoever it would be, that's just, no thank you. Case file number 2602, written by Freelance Shill, The Pig, the Battery, and the Almonds. From ages 2 to 6, corroborated by my parents, had recurring nearly nightly dreams of an anthropomorphic pig. Dreams were normally some sort of altercation of varying intensity, sword fight, board game, etc. The very last dream I ever had, the pig came into the house with an old mobster-style Tommy gun, and in the dream, I woke up my parents and my dad shoved the pig into the oven. Then we opened the oven and there were bowls of oatmeal, which we ate, and then went back to sleep. That was the final dream. Once it died in the dream, it never came back. One time I was playing with Legos on the floor of my bedroom, and a big C-cell Duracell battery comes flying from the adjacent room across the hall and almost hits me in the head. Sister was dead asleep. I woke her up, and Mom was cooking in the kitchen. no one else in the house. Almonds used to randomly appear in my sister's bed and shoes, like she'd wake up, there would be almonds in her bedsheet and inside her shoes in the closet. This continued happening after changing all the sheets multiple times, hiding all the almonds in the house, etc. Sister doesn't sleepwalk or anything. At my grandparents' house in rural Virginia, 2 incidents. One night, I'm watching Star Wars in my room and my parents walk in and ask me to turn it down. I tell them it's already super low, but my mom complains that she can hear the special effect noises. A few minutes pass and they come back into my room and ask me if I'm hearing this noise. They tell me to mute the TV. After a few seconds, I hear this noise that I really can't describe. It was the sound of something passing over the house repeatedly, making this grinding, screeching sound. It continued for several minutes, but was absolutely horrifying. Second incident was at the same house. My dad and I were on the dock fishing. House is on an inlet of the Chesapeake Bay at dusk. We hear this noise that sounded like bottle rockets shooting over our heads about 50 to 75 feet. We're just looking up hearing this noise, but absolutely nothing to be seen anywhere. Yeah, that pig dream was really weird. Why did it turn into oatmeal? I wonder what the rationale of your subconscious was for producing that. Case file number 2603, written by Anonymous. Pizza, Passcodes, and Phantom Chairs. I used to work at a nursing home. The people there were either somatic, psychogeriatric, mostly Alzheimer's, or living in one of the independent homes. One time during my night shift, I went out on one of my rounds to inspect an alarm on the 3rd floor. This is standard procedure and is usually nothing, just old people tripping their bed sensor, indicating they got out of bed at night. There were 4 departments per floor, each department housing 8 rooms and people. And the way they were built was like in sets of 2 with 3 sets of elevators, 1 for each side and 1 big in the middle. The elevator room was not accessible for the old people with Alzheimer's, and were separated by 2 heavy big doors which required a pass to open. So I make my way to one of the departments and exit the elevator, and use my passkey to open the department to investigate the bed alarm that went off there. As soon as I arrived, I could clearly see who it was since the room was next to the elevator, and opened up compared to the other closed ones. And well, people with dementia are not known for their stealth abilities. I went inside to reassure the woman who woke up that everything was fine, and reset her bed alarm while she went to sleep. I was in there for maybe 2 minutes with the door open. As soon as I left the room, I saw 2 heavy chairs who were at the end of the hallway, now blocking the door to the elevator that I just went through, which was on the opposite side of the hallway where I just saw the chairs before. How did these get there? Someone must have moved them there, right? So someone else must be awake. So I checked all the rooms. They were all closed up, people lying in bed, no bed alarms went off on my phone, nothing. So at this point I'm like, holy crap. No one else is awake and could have moved the chairs. How the fuck did they get there? The old people couldn't have moved them in the span of 2 minutes stealthily, let alone move them that fast if they could move them at all without tripping the bed sensors. And then sneakily went back to bed to trick me. They have dementia anyway and are incapable of doing so. So at this point, I was noping the fuck out of there and went back to my colleagues. I thought maybe my colleagues pulled a prank on me or something. I don't know how they would have got in and left again without me noticing the heavy doors opening, but at this point I thought this must have been the only viable explanation. I mean, they were the only other people who would have had access to do this. So I come in and tell them they are very funny trying to scare me like that, and they had a nice try, but I wasn't impressed. After all, I'm a man of science and the supernatural is preposterous. They both look at each other and go, no, we were sitting here eating pizza all this time. But we had other colleagues who also had a weird story like yours. At this point, my heart sinks into my chest. Still not really sure what just happened. I've never been able to deduce how the chairs got there. Other weird crap went on in that building, but I could always explain it away. Not this one. I don't believe in ghosts or the supernatural, but if I did have a weird unexplainable experience, it was this one. And it definitely made me go, what the fluck? Now time for the jokes of the day. My wife was sick in bed, so I took the sheets off of her and then put them back on. Confused, she looked at me as I said, "There, you are now recovered." Why did Karen press Ctrl+Alt+Delete? She wanted to see the task manager. I just asked my 9-year-old son what he learned in school today. He said, "Apparently not enough because I have to go back tomorrow." I'm so proud of him. Never pay for a gym trainer, guys. It's a complete waste of money. He just sits around while I do all the heavy lifting. Only 2 years ago, my wife's gynecologist delivered pizza. Still to this day, they both think it's a terrible name. Yeah. Imagine naming your kid pizza or any kind of food that's delicious. You'd always be thinking of that every time they're around. Be bad for dieting. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.